I didn't expect this 30 € coffee maker to get anywhere close to hand brewing, but it surprised me. After a few tests, one simple change made a huge difference. No mods, no expensive gear, and yes, this works even in an Airbnb. If you ever accepted bad coffee as inevitable, this might change your mornings. I tested a bunch of ideas, measured temperature, compared tastes side by side, and focused on what actually moves the needle. And the best part, the most effective fixes are low effort and easy to repeat. But what is the real problem with cheap coffee makers? Let's go straight to the point. Cheap drip coffee makers fail at two things compared to hand brewing. First, they don't allow blooming or controlled pours. Second, and more importantly, they brew too cold, even if you preheat the water before adding to the reservoir. I tested adding water at 50 degrees Celsius, and in the cup the difference was almost irrelevant. Most of the time, the brew temperature was only 2 to 3 degrees higher than starting with room temperature water. And that's simply not enough. So the coffee comes out under-extracted. But what can you fix and what you cannot? Are there easy hacks to create multiple powers or blooming? Like could you time the power button? In theory, yes. In practice, no. These machines work with a thermosiphon. So there's a big lag between pressing the button and actually stopping the dripping. So instead of fighting physics, we accept the limitation and compensate where it actually works. If temperature is low, you need more contact time and more surface area. That's it. And that leads to two very effective hacks. Hack number one, grind finer. This one is obvious. Grinding finer increases surface area, slightly increases brew time and extraction immediately. In my case, I'm grinding 30 clicks finer, in my case 6. It helps, but it's not enough on its own. Hack number two, immersion. And this is the game changer. This is the point where the coffee finally stops tasting hollow. Drip coffee makers have evolved in the portafilter. If the server isn't underneath, the coffee doesn't drain. So here's what I did. I removed the server, started the machine, let all the water siphon into the filter, waited 90 seconds, 90, and then put the server back to start filtration. That creates an immersion phase, and more contact time, higher extraction. The difference in the cup was immediate and obvious. Sweeter, fuller, more balanced. Just pay attention to the capacity of your portafilter to avoid spilling over. When I combined the finer grind with the immersion phase, the result was much closer to what I get from hand brewing methods like B75, Calera, or B60. Very sweet. More extracted than in my previous tests. For a 31 € coffee maker, this is pretty nice. Not perfect, not what I would brew with my home setup, but for a cheap coffee maker, especially on a trip, this was a great coffee. Just one important practical note. As soon as all the water has been siphoned, turn the machine off. Otherwise, you're just cooking the coffee on a hot plate. You're destroying the flavors you actually want. Quick aside for the coffee geeks. Yes, most cheap coffee makers have plastic reservoirs and some plastic or silicone parts before the heating element. That's why I wouldn't add boiling water to them. If you care about avoiding plastic entirely, there are options like the Bemor Brazen, which actually fixes temperature, or simply good coffee for avoiding plastic. And of course, machines like the Fellow Aiden or X-Bloom also solve temperature properly. But all these options are on a whole different price range and a different conversation. Back to the cheap machines. Here are my 6 recommendations for a good coffee from a cheap drip maker. First, use Good freshly roasted coffee. You can ruin good coffee, but unless you're performing miracles, you can't save bad coffee. And grind it right before brewing. For filter, you don't need an expensive grinder. AP2 works, but honestly, the K6 is still the best bang for the buck. I've had mine for over 3 years. For more details, I reviewed both and the links are in the description. Second, use good water. Tap water in many places is too hard and completely mutes flavors. Use soft bottled water or something like zero water. If you want to go deeper, I'll leave a card to my water comparison video. Third, control the ratio. Use a scale. And this is critical. More water extracts more, but also dilutes more. I like ratios between 1 to 15 and 1 to 17. If you're not an enthusiast, you will probably prefer 1 to 10 or 12 to 1 to 15. That's 15 grams of water for every gram of coffee. And without a scale, you will hardly replicate a good cup. Even a cheap 0.1 gram scale is fine. I really recommend it. I'll leave some links in the description in case you need. Fourth, once all the water is up, you will hear the sound. Turn it off. Don't cook your coffee. Fifth, paper filters matter. I tested supermarket brown and white filters, Calera, and Abaca trapezoidal filters. The worst by far were the brown supermarket filters. They added paper taste, both in my tests with just water and with coffee. If you can, use the white versions. They are all better. And sixth, keep everything clean. Old coffee oils ruin flavor and are not great for your health either. You don't want mold growing in your brewer. Clean gear always leads to better coffee. Quick recap. If you remember nothing else from this video, remember this. You're not fixing the machine, you're fixing the extraction. Use good, freshly ground coffee. Measure coffee and water with a scale. Grind finer than in your V60. Use white paper filters. Remove the server before brewing. After all the water is up, turn the machine off. Let it immerse for 90 seconds. Put the server back, let it drain, and enjoy. If you've seen my other videos, you know my focus is getting better coffee with cheaper gear, testing what actually works, and cutting through the myths. If this helped you survive bad coffee on trips or finally enjoy that machine at home, leave a like, subscribe, and tell me in the comments if you have other tricks for cheap coffee makers. Thanks for watching and see you in the next video. Ciao!